Hello, everybody! Welcome to season episode 14 of the LJL officially unofficial podcast with me, MaskedSwan, the greatest man that has ever said those words before, because no one had said them before, hopefully. Or if they have, what a time to be alive.
I did like 10 seconds ago, just to undercut you. Now it's a competition.
Well, you don't have it on recording. I do. Thus, I win. That man you just heard, who's always in the middle, except when he's not that, like, one time.
One time, very rarely. Yeah, exactly.
Sam,
hello.
Good sir. Hello, sir. How are you?
I have been battling the great robots of the internet with the aid of John Connor. I think we're doing okay. I think we're surviving. I'm using the great Berlin internet solution of mobile hotspot and hoping is where we're at, and I think it's okay so far.
Just to let you know as well, and our listeners out there, you are still sending me audio, so you can stop that if you'd like.
I can. Do you want? Am I okay? I'll keep sending it as which way you want this. That's the question.
I'm only doing it all through Discord, mate. So you're good. On the other side,
technology.
That out. You've heard another voice. Who is that voice? Well, if you've listened to our streams, seen our broadcasts and everything, you'll know that is Temporal. So how are you?
I'm all right. I'm glad we fought off the German internet army, and we've managed to make everything work. It's good. I've been enjoying some LJL.
Yeah, it's been great fun to kind of just have LJL back. Obviously, in the previous episode of the podcast, actually, previous 2 episodes, we haven't had any action. It was DFM recapping their MSI performance, and then the episode before was getting hyped. Before, though, we go any further, though, Sam.
Hello.
How are you doing, buddy?
I am doing okay. It's been a really good week, but very busy. So on Monday, as of recording 2 days ago, got my visa. So got that for 3 years over in Berlin. Very happy about that. That's really massive relief. Flat's coming together nicely. Alex had his birthday and got his visa yesterday as well. So I had a really lovely day where obviously that got resolved and had a really lovely time with some friends out in Berlin, hanging around and having a really good time in some KBBQ. And then obviously some LJL action today. And that's been really good. The only irritation is the internet stuff, which is getting resolved some way through next month, a couple weeks away. But that's just the way of it. Takes a little while to get internet installed over here. But then finally, I will be free of the demons of mobile hotspots. And everything should be returned to peace and harmony in the galaxy. Balance of the force.
Is that when the content train will begin again?
Yeah, exactly that.
I can't believe how easy it is to get internet these days. Like last time I had internet installed in a place, I was a kid, and an engineer had to come out and do the engineering things at my new place. Like the modem showed up in a box. It's secondhand. It's not a new one, and I plugged it in and it worked. It's like, what?
Well, like,
I don't know.
It's all the same lines nowadays.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's good. So you've got internet, everything else. Just good week, busy week, Sam. Though.
Bit of that. Just a weird mix of vast quantities of admin, preparing to fly back to the UK for a little bit for an event going on out there. Be joining Tom actually.
I was about to say you got to put up with me this weekend.
I know. I'm really looking forward to it.
Leak what you're doing, or is it not announced yet?
We can.
They haven't put the social posts up yet, but I don't think there's a lot of crossover here. Let's be honest.
You want to do? Do you just want to do it, and then we'll beg for forgiveness
deal with
if
repercussions. We need to. Yeah, do it that way. That's how I operate.
All right, so me and Sam this weekend, as we did last year, will be reappearing in Sam's hometown, the home of the Hapgoods.
I know,
Nottingham, for the British Esports Federation. Now it's not the Association Federations Championships tournament, which is like a UK schools tournament for I believe sixth form and colleges is the age-ish we're doing, like high school for you Americans, because we're worldwide
18,
here.
19-year-olds, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of that age group. They've played all year. This is going to be the grand finals for their summer. Sam is going to be casting one of the finals. I've got another one with some of the other UK lot. Yeah, it's going to be exciting.
So opportunity to go home and cast some League of Legends for a really cool little project that's been running for a few years now and is continuing to go from strength to strength.
The tournament's always so good. I used to admin, used to help them.
Did you?
With it. Yeah, I've been in and out of British esports for quite a while. And it's a good time. Good tournament. Good watch. So if you want to see Sam, no doubt, I'm going to leak what I don't even know this. This is a guess. Sam in a snazzy suit. Probably.
I think I'll probably be in a branded T-shirt because they've got specific branded shirts.
Oh gosh, yeah, we are going to be.
Oh god, it's going to be a repeat of the cover.
We're like, Tommy, you're wearing one of these too.
We'll be wearing their merch in the Bird's Nest in a esports arena in Nottingham. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Amazing. Anything else, Sam, or are you going to have a very busy week again from the sounds of it?
I think it's like it'll be busy, and then I'm going to be home for a bit for the first time in 6 months or so. So I'm going to go say hello to the parents, the dog, and the grandma, and that kind of thing. So very looking forward to that.
Fantastic. Tom, Temporal. So, how you doing? How's your week been?
Too busy. Always too busy.
You were in a meeting with us, getting ready for LJL, between here and the last podcast where you were at the office doing work in a narrative meeting.
I'm 50-50 for being at work on an LJL meeting, which is odd. Class 2 LJL meetings, you do have to wear gloves and a lab coat. Masks now, not required. But dangerous stuff.
I'll throw this one in here as a little bit of one of my favorite anecdotes I've ever had from Tom in an LJL meeting. It's like, I'm sorry I can't be there. A laser exploded at work. We're all in the chat. We were like, what? What do you mean a laser exploded? It's just like, there was no additional information given. We're just like, okay.
Context is extra. Unfortunately, a laser did blow up yesterday, and that was not a good time.
Again? What?
We've got a lot of them,
This Death Star is fully operational.
It was a red one, so take from that what you will.
It wasn't a really powerful one because they're blue, I believe, right? Because red is like infrared because that's what DVDs use. Blue was Blu-ray, so that's the more powerful one. And in my head, it went green next because we got to have RGB, and the G just got switched around,
It's power and color output. Yeah. Not mixed. Energy and color output is mixed. So you're right. Infrared is the highest wavelength, and try not to stand in front of infrared lasers. I can't.
It'll make.
Don't know how storytellery I can be. There is a story, but I think it is.
Let's maybe say the next time you're on the podcast.
Yes,
I don't think
there. What we'll do is we'll clip this bit here and sub it in. Go right. You're going to say how you're doing this week. What you've got to do is tell the story. You'll have to remember. There you go.
Yeah. Maybe. What's it's called? Blu-ray? I think definitely. Blu-ray is for the discs. I think
it is. I was just.
He's bullshitting.
Beaming.
I think I'm not actually one much for lasers. I'm the biology we shoot lasers at, but I've now learned the lasers.
They shoot lasers at you. Do you have superpowers?
No, they're really too powerful for that. It's not superpowers. It's crispy pieces on floor. Anyway,
outside of that though, and not becoming crispy pieces, how else have you been, mate?
Becoming crispy pieces through having to cycle to work again and lack of sleep, but we're getting there.
That's the healthy option.
Yeah, it's a healthy one. Partner's finishing up current work position, so new exciting adventures in the future. New flat. You may notice since I last appeared, there is a new background. Moved into a 3-bed flat instead of single bedroom in HMO. It's quite nice. Not gonna lie. I don't know how I'm gonna go back if I ever have to go back, because this is the lap of luxury. Got my own kitchen. I'm growing. It's too much.
Big boy pants is where we're
huge
going. Fantastic though, but and you've enjoyed some LJL action as well as both of you, I imagine.
It's good to be back.
It does feel good to be back myself. Between the last episode and this one, what have I been doing? Lot of LJL in the background.
Yes.
Lot of LJL in the background. I have well and truly just become the quartermaster and the captain. And just gone, everyone, get in here! Doing many whirlwinds, and people have been multiplying and everything. It's been fantastic.
Many gamer hours meetings you've organized for us.
Many. I've got a few more
required for them. Oh boy, of course there are. Always more meetings.
We've got another person joining us. We've got 2 meetings planned. I need to plan for this week, and we got many things happening. But it's been fantastic. We had a brand new producer who joined us. That was Dan from Discord. So shout out to Dan. Chris,
great job.
Edgeworth. I can't thank Chris enough for this. Basically ran him through the whole of everything in text format overnight. So I wake up and I just see like 30+ messages explaining our whole system and how it runs. And J-Real, Middlecott, RMC, and Recollect did fantastic job today on the desk, especially as none of us 3 founders. This was one of the first productions ever that none of us 3 founders actually had any touch with.
That's crazy. Like we've had
in voice.
Yeah, we've one or more of us has generally been involved pretty much most weeks. It's pretty special to have the crew get to the point where they can do it by themselves, which is really, really exciting. So yeah. So a little tear going to my eye. The kids are all grown up. All that kind of vibes.
I think huge shout out to Middlecott and Dodge for pulling extra this last week as
seriously.
well. Who else pulled extra? MaskedSwan, indeed.
Oh yeah, MaskedSwan. Oh yeah.
It was host, producer, and colorcaster.
Mate, Mr. Broadcast, I think that's officially.
For what? For the Sunday. Well, that was partly because sadly, Nymera's internet died.
Same situation as mine. Then I cast straight after him, and Dodge had to fix me after. So I thought it was going to be fine, and then like 10 minutes in, it was like the Terminators have attacked, and John Connor couldn't save me fast enough, as we said. So Tom did actually seriously shout out to Tom as well, who did a fantastic job of saving me for when I suddenly turn into like just sort of like Autobot 3000 for about 10 seconds every given team fight.
You know, my first ever cast that is like a proper, let's say a proper cast, I produced. And my power supply on my computer blew up a week before.
Oh no!
So I did it all from a laptop. It didn't work at all. And the group, shall we say, the British Military Society I was commentating for were like, yeah, not sure if we want you back next week. And then their commanding officer was like, no, his computer blew up and we give him a chance. And it was all solo cast. And then I had one guy in eventually. And that didn't go well. And then like more members in after that. So I'm unfortunately experienced in the death of internet from foreign countries.
Another podcast will have to be about LJL producer nightmares that we've had, because there's been some stories.
We're going to have
There's been some stories.
Weirdly enough, to end that tangent and to just recap my week, I remember actually once, I don't know who I casted it with, but I did one Army esports broadcast. Yeah, like this was very early days of like when the 3 of me, Sam, and Alex were first casting. Literally taking any opportunity.
Hang on. You keep telling the story, and I'm going to open a Discord channel.
But outside of that, how else has my week been? I've not played many games. I played a little bit of Magic on the side, but actually, I'm just random plug. Wrote like 5,000 words currently on my hit piece towards Do Wizards Care about Magic the Gathering?
Do they?
Well, I don't know. You'll have to find out when I eventually either release the video or put the article, and I'll just do a podcast episode about it on Too Long Just Listen. My podcast.
Yeah, on card games, I completely forgot. Too much LJL. I did judge the UK National Championships for Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh,
huge card game week. Great time. Lovely to see everyone in Sheffield.
Not like the biggest tournament in the whole of the UK or anything.
Yeah, the biggest one that's ever been. 844 participants. Like, we smashed the old record, but it was not
pretty great.
close.
That's cool.
Great. Especially for Yu-Gi-Oh! attend.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
The magic elitist keeps going. Go on, let it go.
Not going there.
Magic
I hate
organized
magic.
play is crazy.
Fuck magic.
I'm in the middle. I'm stopping this one now.
Yes, Dad. All right.
All right. Yu-Gi-Oh! Magic. This conversation can happen on another podcast.
I did ask for his help in regards to economy stuff in the 2 games, and I very much just cried a single tear and realized that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is yet again better than Magic at something. With that bombshell, though.
To truly round out, I have found a Discord message from myself to MaskedSwan.
No!
Spring 2020.
Was it you?
Hey, Swan, are you available to cast some British Army esports with me this week? I'm producing, but I need a co-caster. So I, in the early days, was more flexible.
You did it with me then.
We did the LPL to warm up, and then you were my color caster.
Holy, well, a little bit of shared history.
First time we met.
That was
a long time ago.
Wait, when did you say it was? Spring 2020?
Pandemic. I'm scrolling back at the end.
I probably sent you then like
you did
LJL
6th of May 2020. Hey Temporal, saw your post on the VL Staff Discord about a league casting gig. I would like to put
Balance League. It brought us all together in the end.
It's the way.
I mean, too much shout out to Balance League in the grand scale of everything.
Good people.
Amazing people. But with that said, Initialise.
Hello.
If people are on YouTube, what do we want them to do?
Well, first off, what you need to do is watch at least 5 minutes of the video because we need that little.
If they got here, they've done that.
Yeah, exactly. If you got here, you've done that. Yeah, we've managed some serious tangents at this point. So at this point, you need to understand. You need to also like, subscribe, and probably share them at this timestamp because then they can go back and watch the tangents if they want. But they probably need to come here for the LJL action because we had some glorious rants. And then leave a comment and watch it all over again.
Yeah, like league starts here, but by all means. Like keep going all the way back here. There's some stuff you can find.
there's some serious gems in that conversation. It just wasn't LJL related.
On YouTube, the three of us as well. It's fantastic.
On YouTube optimization, once you've watched this podcast, I'm told the best thing to do now to increase your metrics, and I'm being openly shameless here, is just go and watch Sam fight the robot army on day 2 of the LJL. Click on another video.
You'll enjoy it.
So good.
Or apparently our most recommended video to everybody, as me and Sam came to learn, our first episode of the podcast gets introduced to everyone for some reason.
It's truly awful, but enjoy it. We've gotten a lot better since then.
There's a uterus as our logo.
Oh shit, yes!
We grew up.
Yes, I've forgotten the old logo. And it's like, so we literally came back like a week later and someone put, yo, you know this looks like a uterus. And we're like, oh, no, it does.
I was legit in the middle of a mall getting sent that message, and I go, huh? And then I show my partner, and she goes, "Oh, I see it, yeah." And then
like, that's the first time
fallopian tubes and everything.
Swan brought me along and chatted to you. I was like, "Hamgood sounds familiar," because I knew Alex in a previous life. And then you guys were like, "Oh, hang on, we need to talk shop for a minute, Sam. I can't talk about logo."
Right, the tangents are going on. The link was Alex and Tom used to go to the same university, sort of. So leave it there.
Temporal. If people are on audio, and I'm testing your limits a little bit here, what would I like them to do? What do I want them to do?
I think if you have that place where you find podcasts, this could be Apple, Spotify, all of the major providers. We should be available on these days. Go and subscribe. Go and give us a rating. It can be fair. And leave us a comment. Just interact. Say hi, and you can get us in that juicy audio quality.
Yes.
Love it. Didn't mean to lick my lips like that. I just made it very...
I just looked at Tom's face and he put the radio voice on and we went, oh yes, that's it. The way it says juicy audio quality, I'm going to need that clip. That's some quality stuff there.
And with that said, obviously join our Discord, ask us questions with the hashtag LJL podcast, and or just tweet at us all directly. Remember, if you want to keep up with each of us, it's at MaskedSwan, at Initialise with a 1 for the L.
There's no L. I don't take L's.
No, you don't. You're just winning. That's why you're number 1, my dude, sir.
Initialise. That's the W I'm going to put in there eventually.
God. And Temporal lol. With that said, though, gentlemen, let's get into the main part of this podcast. The LJL has started now, and we've had 3 game days. Normally, ladies and gentlemen, we would record this on a Tuesday. We're going to have it come out on Tuesdays. We might even start changing our recording day. We're not quite sure of that. Penned the official Twitter account for that information. But as it's going to be Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, every single day for everything. No super weeks. Which, honestly, I'm really happy about. I don't know what you think about that, Sam.
I remember doing insane numbers of games in 48 hours when we started at 4 a.m. And we had people like Counterfeit come in and save us, along with some of the VCS guys who live out in Australia and the like, to basically sub in and help with us. It was, I think, we both hit the hysteria horizon, and we've termed it now in the LJL, very quickly. I am quite glad I don't have to pull those stints anymore. It was fun in some ways, but just way too much. Too much.
I would catch it as I woke up, and I'd be like, "They've been going for how long?" I was living with my parents at the time. It was just like, I would love to do. This is the dream, but also, dear God,
Sleepers for the week.
Whew.
One where we got it all, like me and Sam basically did 8 games in a row.
Jesus, yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think after some of those, you'd then come and cast with me, and it'd be like, oh God.
Yeah. Yep.
I think I went and did a UKEL cast or something, or an SQ1 cast after that as well, because I had to fill in. So I did like 10 games in a day, starting at 4 a.m.
We were absolute animals back in the early day. We just loved it, and now we still love it. That's why we still cover this region. It's the best region, and if you're not watching, how the bloody hell did you get this deep into the podcast?
I know, right?
You've done with a lot of personal backstory.
You fell asleep and it's ready to come up.
Hello. Subscribe.
Subscribe. Well, good morning. Now subscribe. It's like what is it? Was it like the hypno?
Yes,
you kind of like tried subliminal message with hypno things. I think it was called.
Weirdly enough, I'm now like reminded of the new Doctor Strange film, but I'm not going to say any of those spoilers.
I missed it. Anyway,
it's worth watching. It's a weird film, but it's worth.
I had a
watching.
feeling it would be.
What else were we talking about? Yes, game days have started. Super Week is done and dusted. Temporal, your stance on Super Weeks being gone, at least for this split.
Some of those Super Weeks last split really took it out of me. I ended up catching COVID on the last one, and then it was like, oh, by the way, I can just fill in for all of this. It's crazy. I think the amount of games and the game density, like one at the start, one at the end, was like really quite a lot, and some teams definitely like lived and died on their record after it. Like, you'd see Burning Court, they started strong, and it's just like a slow fading down because your form this week was not representative.
Yeah, we definitely have had some splits in the past where teams have been made or broken, and we've been able to just figure out the trajectory. I remember in the old system, you could basically watch a Super Week and be like, okay, we now know the placing of most of these teams now. Which was a nice way of checking in a sense, but we only had 2 round robins, remember? So
big one was, if I recall, DFM in summer 2021 when they were really, really, really struggling. They had a really rough split. They were like lost horribly. V3 were undefeated and looking incredible, and that Super Week was where it really turned around, and then they scrape into playoffs, and then from that Super Week transition point, they then play their way from the lower bracket first round robin all the way to the finals and play a 5-game series against V3. Extraordinary run where V3 really had to earn it to get to Worlds.
Yep, that was 2020, not 2021. Just
2020. Yes, 2 years ago.
You're correct about everything. Just that one little thing.
Yeah.
It kind of lines up with last year. It's how they mounted their attack on the undefeated Rascal Jesters, largely.
Well, I think let's just go straight in and start talking about DFM, because Temporal, I think you're about to set us up in a fantastic way.
Maybe. So, I think I did write the wrong thing in the document, but it's fine.
I also put the note in as well. No worries.
Yeah. So, summer 2021, me and Sam were in Nottingham casting this British esports thing, and we're chatting away about Shaco Jungle, because of course Steel is doing it by eating overpriced packets of crisps. And we just think to ourselves, like, Rascal Jester's having the split of a lifetime, undefeated, completely monstrous. And Sam pulls out his phone and is like, oh, look, Steel just monstered DFM on Shaco.
It's like, why God,
it's one way to end a run. I was just like, ooh, that's nice. And then, after a middling early start, and we can call their start middling, they lost to Sengoku. They are no longer the undefeated bar to which all things are compared. Now they've got to fight through the middle and fight up again. It might just be the repeat of last year. And I wouldn't be too surprised either with the way durability has changed. There's going to be some innovation and growth. And I think DFM are the likely growers, right?
Yes. I mean, their other 2 wins that they have got after that one loss against Sengoku to begin off the
pretty
week.
Convincing.
It was the same for Rascal Jesters, though. Rascal Jesters, they just didn't beat.
No. But I mean, their wins over Axis and V3, while expected, I mean, it didn't give me much hope for either of those teams. I mean, I think, honestly, weirdly enough, I'd say V3 actually showed up a bit more than Axis.
Yeah.
True. Genuinely.
We'll talk about V3 later.
Yeah.
We are not going on a V3 tangent.
Yes.
We will do that later.
That's a last.
I wouldn't take too much away from DFM for that. Let's be you're right that there's that potential there. We might watch that VOD in a few weeks and be like,
I wonder.
Oh, I think that's a fair point. But DFM as a whole have been looking
pretty good.
Fine? Would you say?
Yeah, I think they've showed 3 very different drafts now, particularly around AD carry stuff. Some different stuff out of Yahorong as well. Ebby pulled out the Sejuani and looked really good on that as well at points as well. Getting solo kills into matchups with the help of Steel. That synergy's still there. That's really good news, and the thing we were a bit worried about is like, oh my god, are DFM going to be able to change their playstyle in time? Especially after the first game against Sangoku, it's like, oh my god, you've got no engage, and you're waiting to flip it Elder and got no kills. That's not very good, is it? Mm-hmm. And honestly, from there, it's looked better. Again, I do want to see them against slightly better teams. Probably all the Axis are 2-1 and have blown up. I still don't necessarily think that maybe 5 weeks from now, I'll say the same thing about where Axis are in the standings.
Strength of schedule will change drastically.
All of that stuff. But I think, largely, DFM are on a trajectory to at least try and do what they did in spring, even if Sengoku do look pretty good.
Yeah, on it being the same as spring, it feels like the domestic bar has been they've settled back into their comfy chair after MSI. We're looking at mid of spring DFM where it's just comfortable. They're just doing they're just feeling it out, trying a few things, mixing it up. And it's not crazy, but it's DFM good. It's got the stamp on it.
Yeah, the thing is, it's even in their loss to Sengoku Gaming, it wasn't like they rolled over and just lost. There were deeper, more fundamental issues with that match that they lost. Yeah. And I'd like to more attack that from the Sengoku angle. So let's actually start talking about that a little bit, because Sengoku are the undefeated team. And if you took bets, they're probably one of the teams you said could be undefeated, in all fairness, but they're going to have to overcome the odds because, frankly, their way of schedule was a coin flip match. It was always a coin flip versus CGA. We all know how that goes. EFM, which was going to be tough, and the Hawks, which was probably the only one I'd give them and say expected win, unless Hawks really had a huge glow up, which to a degree they have, but we'll talk more about Sengoku Gaming and their undefeated streak, the only team that's currently 3-0 in the league. And their win over DFM, I feel kind of set them off in almost that perfect place.
I mean, they've had a pretty tough start to the split as well, because their opponents have been DFM, then CGA, who are, as we said, a very weird team to rate. We had a narrative meeting. We were all like, I don't know what to think of that. Hell, I still don't know what to think of this team, and they're 2-1.
Whatever hurts Middlecop most mentally in the moment.
That's probably it.
No. We need him. We need Middlecop.
Just getting more. And then you had the Hawks, who were on a pretty decent trajectory as well, all things said and done. So actually, that's not an easy. I mean, they're basically shy. Maybe you could switch one of those teams for Rascal Jesters or Burning Core, and honestly, Rascal Jesters have a rough start to the split, so maybe that's not even it. This is arguably the toughest 3 opponents, maybe you could have had to start, or at least up there as a tough 3.
Well, apparently they needed access, mate. Really.
Well, clearly. And I think they've been pretty good. Obviously, it's been Honey starting, not Vital or Vital. I'm not quite sure what the pronunciation is because it's a Korean sort of wonder kid AD carry, but it's been Honey who's looked very, very good. Jet's been pretty phenomenal. All of that's good. I think their game against DFM was their best. Part of that is draft stuff. I don't think any of us were all that impressed with DFM's draft in their first game. But honestly, the games against CGA and the Hawks early on were perhaps more competitive than Sengoku would be comfortable with. It just turns out they're really good at dragon setups, and they've got a couple very, very good carries who get a couple items and then murder you.
Yeah, it's a bit crazy. Going over that first game, let's go into Sengoku DFM, it really felt, I think I said somewhere at the time, Sengoku never stopped prepping for DFM after the Juggernaut match, and we're at the end. We're coming towards the end of this arc now, where it's like, holy moly, Sengoku have had to prep for no one else, and they are just in this zone where they can attack DFM. So like a lazy-ish, maybe lazy isn't the best word, but like an early season with feeling it out draft turned into Sengoku's perfect attack. I'm just pulling it up now.
Yes, I've got it.
You beat me to it. Go on.
Yeah, so I suspect Lexi will be pulling it up on screen as well. But for the audio listeners, Sengoku Gaming had Sejuani top with the Ignite No Flash, just as a heads up. Once was on the Wukong, Jet was on Yone, Honey was on the Jinx alongside NT's Tahm Kench. So that is really good comfort and stylistically what you kind of expect out of Sengoku Gaming with the current meta as well. So that was what they had. And on the other side, DFM had run Kale top, Viego jungle, Victor mid, and then Senna Karma bot with the Karma being a farm. And they just had like no engage, lots of scaling, and not a lot of frontline, and it was a bit miserable.
Yeah, it didn't work out too well. I'll just grab the scoreboard. The main sort of pinch point, this bot lane, like, you've got loads of setup around the rest of the map. Like Viego is just like a plug and play into Wukong. You just want to create a bit of chaos and break the dive. You have this bot lane that's meant to bridge everything, and the Senna Karma, Karma starts the game really heavy, really fast, controls the lane against something like a Jinx. It takes a little bit of time, but has some presence, and it just didn't come together. The Senna was not dishing out loads of damage, couldn't really touch the front line. Yahorong wasn't able to deny the dive forwards, and Sengoku have a mighty dive with the Sejuani, Wukong, and Yone all together. And then it was just the Honey show. We know it, we love it.
I mean, in a way, I want to almost just say they can't keep getting away with this. Because, I'm sorry, this was actually a thing that we at length discussed in like narrative meetings, and I know we kind of just look at it and go, Honey good. Honey can't keep doing the same thing and it keeps working. But it just keeps working! At what point do we just go, this guy's probably one of the best AD carries this region will ever see, and the chance of him making LCK are probably slim, just because of the nature of getting into LCK is just so high. But the caliber of player, like Arya, is currently on the bench at the moment. Like that is.
Is he starting?
I saw him,
He's been
and
starting.
He started early. I'll go check. You keep going.
I don't know whether he's been benched again.
Yes,
he had some very good games.
He did have some good games, but I
the
thought he had already been subbed out, sadly. But I might be wrong. Maybe they were just switching between the two of them. I would prefer that. Obviously, I am biased as fuck towards Arya. Obviously. But like, where is this guy like finding the levels of talent? And he's not just doing it on Jinx. He did do it on Jinx versus DFM. That champion is still broken, apparently, if it's Honey. Anybody else in the world, I'd be less sold on, but Honey just finds the way. But the fact is, none of Sengoku died. They played such a clean game versus DFM, which is the bigger takeaway for me in that game.
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong, we're spending some time on this because this was the really big match against the two really big teams we had as kind of front runners. Outside of stuff of it. There were some big things there, but like this is one which I think a lot of people will go back to, and there's various things going on. And the thing for DFM is like they had very little ways of going forwards, very little ways of threatening Honey's Jinx, and the moment you kind of then basically they hit a point where it's like we have to flip it Elder, and didn't really have a way to force too much because they had a lot of ways to potentially punish the Wukong, the Yone, the Sejuani who dive too deep, and then you're diving through a Victor, everything, Senna, everything, Karma shields. There's a Divine Judgment coming down to save whoever's there, and then Viego steals whoever's body is killed, and you turn it around. But that never really happened. And also, Yone is like, well, he just snaps back if you don't blow him up, and he's kind of got fed, and he's got a Tahm Kench to save him. Like, it was just a really hard game to play as DFM to begin with, and Sengoku played it well on top of that. So it's like, draft gap plus like a little bit of play gap considering the discrepancy going on. Like it was a really good game from Sengoku, and as Tom said, look, they've just been sat there in the dark sharpening their blade looking for vengeance on DFM while they've been off gallivanting in Korea at MSI, and they come back like, whew, well, that was a bit of a tough show, wasn't it? And then basically Sengoku were like, I have been waiting for this all this time, you my enemy, my nemesis. I can finally strike you down. And they did just that.
It's crazy. Like, they carried on being active as well. It wasn't a we've prepped and we'll lean on prep. It's, look, the champions have maybe opened a weakness in draft, so you just gun for it, and they know how to gun for it with the prep, and it's so straightforward as well. We talk about Honey, he can't keep getting away with it. It's straightforward stuff. They're not reinventing the wheel. And that sort of hands check really takes a lot of creativity if you're going to attack it as a team and not just say like, hands check failed, I'll be better. It's like too much. So yeah, eager to see more. The Arya research is in. He is the only mid laner currently signed to KT roster, which is great. It's good. We love it.
Completely wrong, and I'm happy to be
wrong. No, like it's great. Vikla left after spring. So this stacked KT roster lineup is Rascal, because Arya, Aiming, and Life. That is a roster if I've ever seen it. They took a game off T1.
Who just lost their win streak to Kondong?
What a bizarre series of drafts from Kwandong. It was genius stuff, but absolutely out of this world. Ornn mid, Ashe support with a Seraphine carry. It was beautiful stuff. And actually, there was a few moments where I thought
Masters play-ins would like
bring out. It's always the litmus test. You can see what's coming about a patch before it actually happens.
Yeah. Unfortunately, series-wise, not doing so great. 1 and 3 right now. They did smash Fredit Brion in 2, but they lost to T1 after taking game 1. They lost to Genji, and they've lost to Live Sandbox a few days ago. So
I mean, that's a tough opening series.
That is a tough schedule. It's like I've mentioned that team is stacked and full of international talent. Unfortunately, so is the rest of it.
Yeah, like that's really the LCK difficult. In general now, which is just like it's 10 good teams who could probably be top 3 in most other regions if you threw one of those rosters in. I'm sorry, like when I hear some of the people that cover the LCK. By the way, I love all the guys that cover the LCK. Yeah. This ain't a shit talk to them. It's just the nature of the game. But they have to shit talk like the 10th place team, and I'm like, yeah, but those guys could beat like my 2nd place team in my region. So it's like they're just still so good. It's just the nature of the beast, and that's just how it goes. But bringing it back to LJL, gentlemen, Sengoku Gaming, they overcame DFM in that crazy match where none of them died. They played a really clean game, and then they kept winning. What's the gauge on this team now that we've gone a long time without seeing them really? We've gone a few months, we come back, and they've just hit the gate running on this new patch and with the meta change and everything.
I love it. I'm slightly worried because traditionally everyone who's gone on a win streak at the start of the split has not won the split.
But unless their name is DFM, unless their name is DFM.
DFM just don't count at this stage. Just so powerful and commanding in their victories. But everyone else who's won, like the first few weeks of spring and then like suffered, has lost to DFM.
So it's DDR, it's Defense Against the Dark Run. That's what it is. It's the cursed position, not a dance game. See, I managed to combine multiple fandoms there. It's genius. What I'll say is I think Jet and Once in particular have really impressed me. Holy moly, those two have looked so deadly. And Jet's getting to play Yone, he's getting to play Yasuo. Hell, that's just great news, really, all things said and done. I'll say the game today got a little dicey at points early on, but before they managed to sort of really come away with it. And there've been some bits around that 10 to 15 minute mark, at least in the other 2 games where I've gone, some teams might punish you here. But I think Sengoku do currently look like the most dominant team in the league. But I am looking to see where they come at with some of the rematches. I want to see how they do against DFM the next 2 times. I want to see how they do against some of the other teams the next 2 times. But at the very least, there's a lot of thumbs up, and all engines seem to be running on full blast right now.
Love it.
I think Jet is already making his case.
He's
for
so
being
good.
MVP again and get
really,
all pro.
really good.
Like
he's really good.
I'm sorry. I want to just gush about Jet because I'll be honest. I think the reason Once looks so good, and this is no shade to Once. I just think he looks so good because Jet is just always on it. Whenever, like, if Once makes a rotation, sometimes you see Jet like 5 seconds later, push the wave, immediately like shadowing his jungler. It's like, Holy fuck, you can't keep getting away with this. Where are the enemy mid laners? Why are you able to just roam? He's just so good. I don't know who's shot calling. Normally it's the support. If it is NT, holy shit, he's had a glow up, and he might actually not just be the most consistent support in the region. He might be one of the best. I'm not gonna say that, because he's not had the greatest of engages sometimes, even throughout all 3 days. Today got a bit scary, partly because of him.
Every time he convinces me, it's like he's gonna normalize.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But the player who I'm actually really impressed with, and the player I would normally go, and Sam knows who I'm about to say, who I normally go, we'll see, is Paz. Paz is actually playing better than I would say in his peak, which to me was V3. I think he's actually now playing better just as a solo laner, which is saying something.
I don't. His Gwen was fine, and like that's a good thing to see him play. It didn't necessarily like light me up, but then on the other side you've got like the Kaiser, the Yasuo, the Wukong kind of doing look at us dive and blow people up things for Sengoku right now. That Paz is able to play things like the Gragas, like the Sejuani, and be that kind of role player, considering actually Sengoku have found a lot of success by understandably giving a lot of attention and resources towards the mid and bot, leaving him to be a bit of a weak sider. I think if it ends up in a meta where he's forced to be on more volatile carries again, which there are a few around, he might struggle a bit more. But right now, they seem to have found a formula and a champion pool that really works for him.
Yeah, they've definitely put in the work on the off season. Like showed up on Sejuani straight out the gate.
Yeah,
you know he's not going to take any time to get there. Whether he can also play the Kales every game, sort of these deeper carries we're seeing. How much spice can I like?
I mean,
have you got spice?
In a few patches, you're going to see even more top laners because you can get away with just about everything as long as your jungler.
We're missing out on no Cog.
Cog would be so happy right now. Like
we managed about an hour before we brought him up.
I'm gonna see him subbed in real soon.
I like seriously, like at this point we're almost more angry that Cog's gone than people like Ari. At least Ari's got a team. Where the fuck is Cog? What is he doing?
I think he's living a good life.
Whose family member did he murder to be like completely like not involved in the LJL at all right now?
You know what my favorite thing is out of all of this? Is that like Cog probably has no idea that the unofficial English broadcast, like low-key fanboys around him, just like not playing, so we're all like, where is he? We want him back now!
I miss him dearly.
But he was that special player, so hopefully we will have him back very soon. But we miss you. What's spice? What is the spiciest champion we're going to see top lane? I want to just
spiciest champion that's actually going to hit competitive, and we can actually convince a top laner to play.
You could expect it. Yeah.
Oof.
We're going to see something like an Ivan back in the top lane.
No, like so.
Is it going to be solo lane Yuumi?
Easiest way to think about durability is your opponents, and as sort of the split will go on, we'll see this happen more and more. Your opponents have to put in more work and more successful things in succession, so more repeated good things over time to land something. So if you want to disrespect your opponents, you can get away with something that should not be able to lane, which is why like Kale is just so favorited right now, because you get out of there like nicely and smoothly. So you can look to some like ridiculous things that scale with level and shouldn't be played. Let's say Dinga is the most likely to hit competitive. I predict this spring
I'm a Dinga top.
At least some Heimerdinger, because once you've got those levels in, it really fixes the rest of the map.
It's just a guy called Seros with an I.
Yeah, we love.
I've never heard of him before. So it's not Seros. No, Seros works for the Evan. He would never leave that team. Just never. No. It's just a guy called Seros. No, I'm joking. I'm just like, it's just Seros under another name. But like, who's like cheated and gone to another team was the idea. But Tom's like, wait, what? Really? Just
got
like took that hook like and went right down. It's like. I was watching Lexi like put his head in his hands like he's falling for it. How's he?
The thing that also makes me put my head in my hands is I can also see a world where DFM just go, Yaharong, you're coming out for a game, mate. Karma's meta at the moment, as is the Donga.
God,
so we're just going to bring in the Emperor, and he'll play one of them better than most. And it's just like, oh, great. The guy that has the most iconic Worlds Karma play is back. Oh, goody, goody. He does have the world's most iconic play at Worlds on Karma. Fucking at me at that. You beat the 2v1 tower dive that he wins. Go on. Show me. Thank you. You can't. With that said, though, another team that's defeating my fucking power rankings from last week and Initialises and Nymeras. Not even Nymera was right about that one. By the way, Nymera was right about Sengoku, just for the click.
He's not for long. Yeah, like Enti's going to int it. It's going to be Inti again.
I think I forgot
no, don't say Inti. No. Can we have it so it's Paz, please?
That was probably unnecessarily mean, but it's just one slight vowel change.
Too good.
Inti and Pish. Is that the line you're going to?
Oh my god! All right, Axis though, gentlemen.
Yes.
We need to talk about the Narwhals. They came out the gates swinging way harder than I was ever expecting, especially for the beginning of the split. If they were going to peak, I was expecting them to maybe mid to end, like really ramp up, similar to their 2021 run. They didn't come out the gate swinging in 2021. It took them a little bit to get going. They looked okay, and then it went up. 2-1. Megumin seems to have more than one champion, which makes me a very happy camper. And it's not just assassins and Renekton mid, which is great. He actually plays mages now outside of just Azir, which is cool. But his Azir is still really good. Sangchu apparently saw that one Zeri reel that we made around Initial D and was just like, yeah, I'm just going to pull out a bucket load of champions, become a hyper carry. Swamp has had a glow up. Honestly, the whole team have had a glow up. Gentlemen, Initialize, you first. The Axis.
So their one loss was against DFM, where they kind of got a bit slapped after a bit of a sort of at least an evenish early game where they threw a couple punches, and then it just turns out they couldn't keep throwing the punches, and it kind of fell apart a bit. Things like CS became problematic, but the other two wins are just weird. Their win against Rascal Jesters, Sangchu ended up like starting the game with 3 kills, and Yellow Yoshi got his poppy.
Carried that game. I'm sorry.
And Yellow Yoshi got his poppy. So basically, Yellow Yoshi is on his pick. He is a one-trick pony, a one-trick poppy. That is what that is like. That is what he is. And he kind of just gets it and goes, "Behold what I can do with this champion." Rascal Jesters go, "Oh, bollocks," and it's not a fun time. Sol and Secret have a really rough time. Honestly, I think they've had a bit of a rough split, but we'll talk about them later on. And Sangchu gets early kills off a Bizarre level 1, if I recall correctly.
Weird,
and it's like,
and
then Sangchu's like, I'm on Ezreal with like agency, and Megaman's like, cool, I can just wait and scale.
He got like a Sheen at like 3 minutes or something stupid.
Yeah.
It's like Ezreal's not meant to have a he had Tier's Sheen by like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
it's like, all right, you win to win.
Yeah,
you should win.
It's nasty. Really hard to play against lane. We saw it. I think Teddy ended up with it in the victory against T1. Like, he just had Ezreal items, level 1, and it's just like, oh no, your lane, it will suffer horrendously. I think it was
the Ashe, because he had Ashe and then Senna was the two he had to win. Anyway, but like it was the same kind of idea. And then obviously, they also had a win against V3, where I am sorry, that was V3's win. The Axis tore brutally from their desperate, crying, undeserving hands and threw it on the floor and went, "It's mine now." That game basically won off.
We'll hit that one in the V3 one.
To actually close and bridge to V3. Like, what I am worried about is if we look back to Axis Spring, the pattern fits, they opened heavy and it was all Sangchu, and it was like, yeah, this is Axis with honey, but just scribble that name out a little bit and, just write someone else in it. And the hyper carry came through and it was great. As soon as that bot lane gets managed, and the question is whether durability changes that meaningfully, is it going to be an issue? Because Yellow Yoshi, he said on Twitter, he went immediately after the game, thanks for the support. By the way, probably the last Poppy you're going to see for a while. I need to prove myself to my team now, so I'm going to be playing different things. I expect loads of Sejuani. I expect different things.
But if Poppy's up, I want him to pick it if he has a good lane.
But then is he going to tank his team's maybe playoff deep run from 6th by not playing anything in officials that isn't Poppy and then suffering to the draft?
That's not for stage time. That's for scrim time and personal time.
You got to have a bit of both. Officials never quite ring the same as anything else. Even if you're super disciplined in scrims, it's on the line and you're up against the big boys.
And best of 5 series and all the rest of it. People have things you've not seen before and all that kind of thing.
It came up in mine and Initialize's game as well. Lots of double range bot lanes, just in the world, definitely in the LJL, and it gets our carries out of lanes really, really well. But as soon as you start to manage that with longer range junglers, as soon as you get your timings down and your map movements, that can really get managed. It's not happened so far yet.
That's DFM versus Sengoku. That's what happened.
All I'm saying is I have seen Evelyn buffs on 12-13. You play double range bot into Evelyn. If people are feeling comfortable enough, especially with a bit of durability, meaning hard to invade, you will have a horrible time.
It's going to be that sort of development over summer. Normally this would happen in spring with like a preseason, but instead double range bot lanes now have to be managed, so the jungler has to adapt differently. If you're pathing bot and it's not just playable, then you're wasting your time. So I think we're going to see slightly different sort of lineups from the junglers where they like to spend their time in the first 7, and then that's going to be the question mark for Axis for me. Do they survive this? It's maybe not going to go as well as they'd like.
We'll have to wait and see. But this is a fantastic start for the split for them, and one I certainly wasn't. One none of us were expecting, and no one actually on the whole LJL OU staff or even community predicted Axis. We've all been here for it. We're always here for an Axis win. It's the only team I think everyone can go,
flashy.
I'm happy Axis win. I don't know why. That logo is just contagious, man. You look at it and you go, yeah, I'm all right with this. A logo that definitely, though, could do with an upgrade, though it has its very staunch fans who will sing their praises, except for in their last win, which, again, we'll talk about from the other team's side, because it was horrible to watch that one from that side. Crest Gaming Act. Worst logo in the actually, Hawks are there as well.
Anyway. The Hawks don't have a logo; it's just their name in Times New Roman. And they've bent it around a bit. It's not quite Times New Roman. It's not far off. Anyway,
it looks better in the baseball jerseys where it's got that whole little thing. League. Anyway, CGA. We are talking about Crest Gaming Act, ladies and gentlemen. Again, 2-0 at the moment. One of their wins was definitely not deserved. Similar to Axis.
I'm so angry. This team.
Arguably just as angry, I would say, as but they also picked up a win against Burning Core. Again, that was actually a pretty damn good match to watch, honestly.
It was a really competitive one.
Yeah. We already alluded to earlier. I'm going to come to you first, Initialise, for this, because you already mentioned this. I can't rate this team. You said earlier you can't rate this team, but they're 2-1.
It's like it is like everything we saw from spring has kind of come back in just a slightly changed form. Where there are some things this team does incredibly well. Hybrid and Nap are very, very good. And they have managed to pull some serious magic out of the hat of CGA. But by the same token, good God, can this team not put a cohesive engage together? And sometimes they just aimlessly wander across the map and die. And you're like, well, you're going to lose that. And then another bit of magic comes out. It's like, well, okay, maybe this is competitive.
Every now and again, it really is Hybrid and his forwards.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, Nap's really impressed me so far. He's had some really cool curveballs. He had the Olaf the first time out, which was really good. I actually think the Lilia into Paz in that Zengok game got quite scary. He was 2-0 to begin with, and we thought, oh my days, this Lilia could prove an absolute nightmare. You dive into Lilia, she sleeps you all, and you suddenly have a very bad time. Didn't work out, but like some good stuff there.
Once his pathing said no more of that, and promptly stomped the Lilia back into the ground.
And then when you put another Olaf today against V3, and it's another good Olaf game.
It was.
Even if, again, that game is... I'm so angry.
We'll talk about this team right after, because I think we have to attack it all from their POV more than anything else. But Chris, Gaming Act for you, Temporal. How do you rate this team?
Kasyn's still at the front of adapting on jungle. It doesn't always mean he's the best jungle, but it means when something comes in new, he starts highest, and it's on everyone else to catch him up. Yeah, you know what? He's on the Wukong like he was on the Volibear last split. He's first on it. He looks good on it. He sacrifices time for it on the map. And, he does the best of both, even if his CSD isn't highest, even if the KD is not highest. He really does make a difference. And it's always great to see. It's another high point. There was a robbery today. We can talk about the robbery if you wish. Of somehow, yeah. Okay, all right. We'll keep going through time. Then Kaido Zoe looked great. Middle cut just like gained like human points. He just got happier, became more whole after CGA's first game.
The problem is, Middlecott is going to be oscillating between being a human and like a dog gremlin in the corner that occasionally casts video games purely based on CGA.
Pain. It is choosing
pain. Look, I don't want to judge Middlecott for whatever his particular tendencies and proclivities might be. But the man is clearly a masochist, and it's purely because he is, for whatever reason, a CGA fan, and that requires a pretty crazy mindset. And I think it still stands true. They're 2-1 right now.
Yeah.
And some of the plays probably make them deserve that, and a lot of the other plays make them really not deserve that. And I think we're going to end up at the end of a split with a pretty even record because of it. Because a lot of the flaws we saw in spring are still there, just again slightly changed with the meta, and a lot of the strengths are still there. Actually,
I don't think
it's the same character.
Yeah.
And you just sort of take a handful of coins and throw them and see which way they land and go, oh, cool. It's not even flipping the coins. It's like, I'll just throw them on the floor. Oh, what do you know? I've divined the future. It's like reading entrails, but with the inside of a wallet.
We can qualify their one loss was to Sengoku.
Yes, true.
And that is, we're not expecting them to beat Sengoku. Them up against more mid packs. If we see them versus Axis, that's going to be a really good moniker for the middle of our table. So more to see in the future.
I feel like
time?
I feel like Kasyn has. No, not quite yet.
I saw you ready.
A conversation about Kasyn. Because while I think his adaptation on metas is absolutely a huge benefit to him as a player, as an individual, as well as it has been a huge benefit in the past sometimes to CGA.
Yeah.
At the same breath, though, I still don't really rate him as a player. And my issue is getting on the new hotness is always great. Getting on the meta deck before everybody else or just as everybody else gets on it, you normally pick up some free wins. It's great when you do that.
They really do.
And then everybody else catches up. And then suddenly you're nowhere near as good as everybody else, even though you had the early advantage because you were then trying to get on the next early advantage. And you're always trying to do this. Yeah. You're always trying to just stay one pace ahead of the pack. And you can't do that. The best players in the world can't always just be ahead of everyone. They just get really good at
I want to counter your argument with that he gets griefed by his mid laner. So no matter how good you're playing in the jungle, how hot you are. Yeah, your sideboard in games 2 and 3, as the game plays out, just might not be there, Kaido has looked hit and miss, and I think is the metal of the coin of CGA is made of.
There's a bit of that. I think he reminds me a little bit of someone like... I put this one lightly, but maybe someone like Schlatam from Misfits in the LEC.
Yes.
In the sense of like if this guy gets early kills and can become the point of the spear, the person being proactive and making the plays and not needing as much coordination from his teammates to succeed, he really, really can. We see it on things like the Graves, where it's like, I have managed to farm, just turn up, get kills, and then I can basically do this myself. If it ends up in a point where it's requiring very quick decision-making from the team, to back up whatever plays are going on, or he's a bit behind and still going for plays that maybe he shouldn't, because he is still a very aggressive player and doesn't necessarily have that same gauge on the limits yet of some more veteran players or teams with more coordination, where that line can be pushed a bit more because your team will be there for you. That becomes a bit problematic. And I think there is that element of, look, this guy is really good when he can get a lead and be that proactive player, but there are just not the same coordination levels there to support him as much, and between the mid and support particularly. And I also don't think that, unfortunately, he's the best at respecting that either. And that definitely comes back to hurt him. And that would be my take.
I do wonder. So we've bashed Kaido. There is sort of the dynamic.
Yeah, Kaido, I'm not going to defend in a heartbeat. Like, guy, I love him. His Zoe is probably top 3 in the league, but like other than that,
when he gets his flavor, he's incredible. But then he's so often, and this might be a team dynamic thing. We'll never find out who asks for it. When he plays Ahri, when he plays these wishy-washy mages that can do all these things but don't, have a sticking point. Like the Zoe, you're playing Zoe. You're gonna go for your picks. You're gonna set up around your chokes, etc. Ahri can do a lot of things. She's very versatile mage. She doesn't do a thing. And that seems to be where they get lost, on this. The more flexibility they program into their 2v2 around mid-jungle, the more likely they are just to choose poorly.
The only thing I do think we can at least look towards Kaito on in the long term, because I do think he will be a long-term player, is because he basically is in, from my understanding, he's in college or was in university or would have been entering university. He is like 18. All
right then,
fresh in. So
that's
I think
very impressive considering.
Exactly. His age isn't actually official, which already tells me he's very young in general. When he was first playing his tournaments, just because age is such an important thing to disclose, especially over in Japan. It's a very much a thing you do not expose somebody else's age, even if you are aware of it. But he was playing in some of the University Challenger series back in no, not university. He was playing the High School Challenger series in 2019. So he is a young kid with a lot of talent on a Zoe. Hopefully he can grow that out and could be a new big Japanese mid laner.
If you're already here at 18,
yeah. I mean, the other name that reminds me is like Shakespeare's on Rascal Jester, and she's doing a similar, like she's just behind some like Solon Secret, in that bot side.
Yeah, her biggest inspiration was Secret, if I remember right.
Exactly, which is good. Again, obviously for Rascal Jester, they've got Secret, so I don't think she'll see too much playtime yet. But again, it's that similar kind of look. Splitting time between being a student and then also being a pro player is really hard and very impressive.
Or you can just be Kanatsu and just be insane. But we can't all be Kanatsu. But he's not having a great time at the moment, but we'll talk about him in a bit because it is time. I've held you both back to talk about, maybe we should have talked about them first. V3 Esports, our only team at 0-3. What is the record?
I want to show you a film, gentlemen. That film is 127 days where a person does unspeakable things to themselves to escape a hideous rock climbing accident. It has been 127 days since this V3 lineup played their debut game. And they are completely winless.
Film poster with V3's face on it.
But maybe that should be our
Chris, are you watching?
Today.
Mighty G, somebody make it happen. Get it out of there.
Impressions, holy.
To the day, 127 days since this team debuted.
And the thing is, a lot of these games feel like horrible rock climbing accidents because they are so close to reaching the top. Like they were 0-20. They were 0-21 coming out of spring. They've now lost 3 in a row, so they're 0-24. And honestly, all 3 of the games, all 3 of them, they had moments where they could or should or maybe, had won them and then couldn't.
One of them they had
out.
Won.
And
they had
it was again. Like honestly, what was it? They had their game against Axis the first time round. Their Camille was like 200 CS up ahead of the Ornn. They had one next to it down, inhibitors down, and basically they fail around and they get a really cool Elder Dragon macro play to drive people around.
Yeah,
exactly. Like it's looking phenomenal. Zoe gets caught in mid lane once, and 2 people die, and it's over. And it's like, oh my god, no. And this happens again. Against DFM, it's honestly less close. Let's be real.
The early game and mid game was more convincing than Axis's one, which we already played.
Well, true.
I don't know if V3 blitzscrim a lot, but yeah, that early game was.
But even then, it was like, oh god. Yeah, exactly. But then you kind of realize, oh my god, Yaharong and Ebby just smashed their lanes, and it was a bit sad. But the game today, I can't talk about it. I'm done. I'm just furious. This is like CGA and V3 in equal measure. They're at the top of the cliff, and then the CGA boulder comes crashing down and sticks them straight to the bottom of hell. And the misery that ensues 127 days of it.
You pull the slot machine, and it's like, at X time, CGA win percentage 100, and it's just like, oh no, they've lost the game, and they're like, somehow it's gonna happen.
I'm gonna try and bring up the gold graph.
Just to give a spoiler, we've got dress code at a KDA of 2-0-8 up against Hybrid Nema, one of the best bot lanes, one of the best performing AD carries in the world. I'll say it. He could pretty much plug in anywhere. Hetel, great game. Yu-Gi-Oh! 5-1-3, a player we see constantly picked out, lost in rotation, and somehow one Viking boy just decided to say no.
It was nap time. I need to get because clearly it was time to wake up. The dream was over.
Look at that. We got the gold graph. Have we got the gold graph?
I'm gonna try and get it on the screen. Yeah.
It's if you normalize that for game time, it's a flat freaking line. It's like, how have they done this?
Like that.
Don't be misled by big peaks, ladies and gentlemen. That scale is tiny. That is flat.
I am so infuriated, and let's be completely fair. They really stepped up from spring. They've seriously improved, because before we said, look, good early game, and they had no clue what they were doing in the mid and late game. And honestly, the mid and late games have looked at least pretty decent. They've been able to do something with the lead and not just immediately throw it away. But my god, can they not close? I think at this point it's a mental block thing. It's like, are we actually going to do it? Exactly, and I don't think they know what it's like to win anymore, and that really hurts them, because a lot of teams go, well, this guy's just dithering around, murder him when he's done. And the more that happens, the more afraid you get that it's going to happen again. And I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge thing. I was a coach on an academy team, Vector, time and time ago, UKL, deep history. And these players have come up from academy. In Vector's time, it was like a signing issue with the team. But you had these players who were very new and couldn't play through a full game. So you fix the early game, because without that, it doesn't matter. You're clinging on for dear life. Anything doesn't matter. You cheese the early game, you blitz scrim to fix your early game, anything. But then after that, you actually have to go and scrim against a team you can win against, because you got to end the game with your cheese and other conditions you've set to actually survive. And it looks like we're looking for the second half of this puzzle now for V3, where they've actually got to finish someone off. They've got to, go through the motions. We see it on broadcast. It's 2 Barons and dead is your bread and butter standard League of Legends.
The thing is, with this last loss against Chris Gaming Act, Yu-Gi-Oh! Very much got them to that spot where they should have been able to do it. Washi Day playing Ornn, Hetel playing Tom Kench.
A winning bot lane.
I'm sorry, you have the tools at your disposal.
That should have been done.
There's no question asked at this point. There is a serious issue of execution, which my heart goes out to them for this.
It's just how they literally there is seriously need to have some practice at just, okay, how do we do a death push? How do we actually get into the base and kill the Nexus? That little bit is seriously what's hurting them.
It's really hard, because surely they're all focused on just starting the game up, and they clearly haven't had that practice where it's resistance to finish the game.
Well, and this is why I think, personally, sorry to cut you off.
No, do it.
But I think this would be a perfect one, because it links into what you were talking about as a coach, and you would do blitz scrims and everything. Imagine if you could just take a practice tool, zoom it into 30 minutes into the game, or you could just take a game that they had already played, right? You just go, okay, at this point, freeze. and then you just have a freeze motion. You just then have everyone load in at that point, and you can just keep doing that over and over and over again and practice multiple different ideas and everything. Because you could basically take like a game 5 minutes away from ending and just practice that loads of time. Level of play for I think a lot of teams would improve. I think. I don't know.
So this exists in the game engine closest to League of Legends, which looks like an RTS, is StarCraft.
Oh yeah, fair.
StarCraft when they updated the replay editor when I was still playing casually in 2012, about that time, included the ability to unpause a replay and insert yourself into the game. It exists. It can be done. Doing it to 10 people, maybe beyond the technology available. But with Chrono Break exists, you can port that game file to somewhere else. So Riot clearly holds this. I don't think
it's
it'll
10 years
go
on
out
from
ever.
when you said you got access to doing that in StarCraft.
And everyone got it. You could take a GSL game, download the replay file that you would normally just like view it on, and all that is, and it's the same with League, always has been, it's just every action going from server to not. So you can unpause that whenever you want, as long as your client will continue to play through it. Please, Riot. Riot, please. It's been years since I've asked.
Please. But with that said, though, V3 Esports, this last loss to Chris Gaming Act, honestly, I mean, Temporal, Middlecott and Recollect on that broadcast, they just instantly cut to break because they just didn't have anything to say. They were like,
it did some sanity damage.
Like, you need to go watch that, ladies and gentlemen. You can go to our VOD, watch the last 5 minutes of the game. But it was a game they should never lose.
One big Viking boy.
Furious.
Oh, also, Kassin did also hit his smite, thankfully.
Let's also be like again, when we say there's a bit of magic, to CGA, Nap and Hyde would have some magic to them. It turns out.
Yeah.
Crazy. Crazy. The players that have always been good on that team for like a while now, since spring at least, are still really good.
Flashbacks to Kassin and Nap holding a 2v5 into a winning team fight last year, turn their split around massively. It's just again and again, just every now and again, magic. You know why people get hooked on it.
Yep, that's why Middlecott keeps going back to them over and over again, like someone going back to their ex-girlfriend over and over again. It's like, mate,
you okay there, buddy?
I'm fine, but it's like you see it happen. You're like, buddy, come on, let it go. All right, a team that needs to learn to let it go are the Burning Core fans. And actually, I'm wrong for saying that, hilariously, because this team picked up their win by switching their support to AD carry. Now, it was Yuhi, and it was on Aphelios, the one champion he's always looked good on. But they got the win, and Burning Core, they're actually a bit of a weird team, because I wouldn't say they've been bad, necessarily. Yeah. But I wouldn't say they've been at form as I was expecting of them, I think is fair to say. Or maybe the rest of the league's just better than I was expecting.
I think that's the more likely explanation.
Like the game against CGA didn't go like Flawless tried, but it was kind of a bit doomed eventually because Dayan had a rough time. Dayan's had a rough time of it, unfortunately. I think partly that might be why they're out quite early on. I think the game against the Hawks was pretty decent top side, actually. And the problem was Hawks just looked significantly more coordinated and pulled off some really, really good dives. There wasn't a lot to be done down at the bottom lane. It all fell apart, and you snowballed with a Kayle, Senna, and Alessandra to set things up. It's like, okay, well, you're out of options here. And Burning Core didn't have the best answer in terms of drafts in that one. And then the game against Rascal Jester was honestly really good until it got a little bit dicey in the late game. No puns intended. Like they had a really good game for the most part until there was one or two moments we went, oh god, that's a Kayle who's kind of maybe hit level 16 a bit scary, and you've gone for a shuffle. You've got 4 members and no one's died, and the Jinx gets to survive and then gets to blow people up. Oh god, no. And then they managed to pull off this ridiculous teleport way down the lane in the top lane where this control ward had been left at the bush near the tier 2. And they kill the Kayle. And then they kill the Jinx. And it's finally done. And I kind of see why I still have some expectations of this roster in the sense that, look, there are some good players on here. I just don't know how consistent they'll be.
I was happy with Loser's performance because that was sort of the game I was
That's
flicking
fair.
through before getting here. So,
Very proactive.
yeah. I think Swan mentioned he'd seen him at some previous things. Leaguepedia is revealing that's Scouting Grounds, and this is his competitive debut.
Oh, yeah.
So a hell of a game to start.
Okay, so that's where I know him from. All right, that makes
sense.
sense.
You'll have seen him around the LJL sphere, for sure.
So wait, well that was 2021 Scouting Ground then, if I'm remembering rightly.
To Leaguepedia, LJL 2021 Scouting Grounds, 4th place on LJLS.
Yeah,
2021 Ocean.
He had a Ocean. Yes. Okay, so he actually had a really bad. No offense to the person, I can't remember their name off the top of my head. His AD carry was not great.
Sunleaf.
Yes, no, I did not rate them at all. Bless them. Can't always be dress code. Can't always be dress code was an Scouting Grounds player. Not everyone can be Lunatic. Where's Lunatic? Yeah, no one. No, Marble was Academy. Marble only came through Academy.
Not Scouting Grounds. Sorry. Yes.
No, Kanatsu was a player, and Megumin both came through Scouting Grounds. So there is a precedent and everything for these players. But yeah, Loser, I would agree. Yeah, definitely had a great showing, and a player that I was not expecting to see. I'll be honest.
I was so not convinced.
I was pleasantly surprised, at least for a person.
With a name like that as well, like the memes are there to write themselves real quick.
Oh yes.
But like honestly, once or twice went for engages that didn't work, but they were still like really proactive. It was 1 or 2 like flash engages over walls around barons and stuff. It's like, damn, that's the kind of playmaking this team has been needing from the bot side of the map for a while. And that was really good news. And we know that Dyson Flawless and Ray Farkey as well, even if he's been a little bit quieter over the year, have got like the carry playmaking ability. It's been the bot side, but we've had questions about the consistency. And having someone come in particular support role and make those kind of plays is a good sign for Burning Core, but we just see how long it lasts.
Especially, I miss Fujimoto so much. I think he had a really good last split, but maybe it's the intangibles we don't see on screen. Maybe it's what Burning Core needs.
Maybe. Also, just to end out Burning Core and to disagree with someone on our broadcast, Ray Farkey played a good game. He should not be your bad thing of this day. I am sorry, Recollect.
Blame Flawless. Blame Flawless.
Yeah,
always blame Flawless.
Don't blame Ray Farkey or something, even though they won the game. Like, Ray Farkey played great. No, not onto Ray Farkey.
You're allowed to disagree.
Sure.
We are. I'm just calling him out.
There was the 1-1v2 where it's like, yeah, this should be good. And it's like, oh god, no.
Yeah, that was awkward. In all fairness, the
but that was
dying to a.
They were so close to getting that, but they just didn't quite work. And then it was like, oh no. Yeah.
I mean, Kale hit. You know what? Recollect might not be wrong if he's giving up some crazy plays against Kale and like accelerating it.
That was more of a misplay.
Yeah.
A coordination misplay than anything. And I'm not really flaming Recollect too much. I just don't agree with there were way worse things. I would arguably say the team of CGA stealing V3's win was a big worst thing. It was a worst thing that day.
That is a kind of international criminal warrant coming out for them. They're going straight to The Hague.
Well, they coin flip, mate. That's how they get wins like this.
Just to bash, because I need to bash on Flawless, who's my favorite mechanical jungler. Man just needs to stop Borising. Boris is robbing you blind. Why is there Mikhails on this Viego? I will never, ever.
It's not even subtle. What's CC removing?
Braum passive.
GA would have been
really
Braum passive. I don't know.
He's the front line though.
The fact that they got
crazy,
like the win, I don't know. Yuhi eventually popped up on a Felios.
I guess it's Ari charm off Yuhi.
Yeah, the decision was basically saying like, this is how we make sure that Yuhi can continue to do that. Which I guess if you've hit that point, it says, look, I've got the stats I need already. We can do this. I just think maybe GA might have been safer, and then you can just steal Kale's body, which is what he did. Like on the third day, the deity rose again. Unfortunately, he was possessed by the devil, and Kale in the hands of Viego ran over people.
Manaless champions can build Frozen Heart. I'm just saying. That passive is Serious Bank versus Kale. Jinx.
Especially on a Viego who gets right into the middle of it.
Yep, you're in there.
Let's talk about a team that I'm far more higher on in the grand scale of everything, actually. And let's move over to the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming, or the Hawks as we like to call them here for short. They might be 1 and 2, but weirdly enough, I think they could comfortably switch with CGA in the scoreline, and I think everyone would be like, yeah, that looks also about right for how the Hawks have been playing this week. I've been super impressed personally with how the team has been doing. Like quite honestly, they lost to Sengoku in a game that was at least competitive, I can say, for them.
For a very brief moment, maybe.
Yeah, it might have been brief, but I'm going to hang.
It was early on. It was early on, yeah.
The game against Burning Core was convincing, which was really good to see from them, and kind of makes me go, I think they're a better version at least, and I don't know if Burning Core might make. Well, we'll wait and see how this split goes. I'm not going to make any hot takes quite yet.
My main upset with the Hawks last split was they just never got going. They just, they sat there.
They are getting
they
going
just
now,
chilled.
at least.
Yeah, there is cohesion at least here, which is good.
Yeah, like they make coordinated plays. They look like they have an idea about how they want to play and want to draft, and look pretty competitive doing it. I think their game against Rascal Jester was a competitive one.
It was, yeah.
And actually, there was they got the kill at a late game. They were consistently getting on Sol and making his life really difficult. It's just in the end that the Hachimecha and Aino on the Poppy and the Ornn made life really difficult for them.
Yep.
But I think 1 and 2 is an unfortunate scoreline, but not one they're going to be super frustrated with, considering they actually also played some pretty tough opposition in Rascal Jester and Sengoku in particular.
Yeah, and I think when you start looking at the power of of who they've played, like you've just said, Sam, I think they can definitely pick up a few more wins over the next week and a half, and especially for the rest of this round robin. I think, I 100% believe they will pick up more wins. A player I'd love to just quickly highlight, just because they just keep being the shining star for the team, is Dasher. I have to gush about Dasher for a little bit, because man is literally playing the engage, damage, AD carry, AP carry, assassin, bruiser, tank, literally everything on this Lissandra, it feels like sometimes. Like he's just doing so much. And while they only got 1 win with it, and it wasn't even him on that Lissandra, if I'm right in remembering everything, he actually lost.
He played the Corki. Oh, so no, sorry, it's 1 and 1 on Lissandra.
He played the Corki versus lost on the Corki. The Corki was scary, just didn't quite work. Yeah, the Corki was trying.
He did a lot of damage on that Corki. He was the only one really putting out a lot of damage. Bless Marble just wasn't getting a position, and I feel like that bot lane is still the exploitable part of the Hawks.
You're not wrong. Rhino looks good out of lane, not inside.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily think. I think Marble has looked better. I don't, particularly in the terms of I'm not seeing him drop 30 CS in lane anymore, which is good. Like he's maybe down, but again, it's at least looking like he's able to put up a stable laning phase in the ways we sometimes had some issues with in spring, where you probably shouldn't be down 15 CS in this matchup.
Agreed.
Especially
when it's 10 minutes in.
And especially when it's Jinx Aphelios meta, where one of those gets ahead of the other, and it gets really hard to play out. But that's been less of an issue, and that's good news. I agree. Reiner hasn't been the most convincing in lane, even if he's still a pretty good team fighter. I think the Hawks should continue on an upwards trajectory, especially if they can continue to be the person or the team making the plays early on. Their win was off really solid plays around bot side, just making good coordinated, practiced plays, and that worked out really well. And if they can if they have to sort of index less into sort of random skirmishes which aren't kind of set plays, I think that's probably where they're a little weaker at the minute.
I expect this team and Axis, what would you know is coming up in the next week on day 5, this coming Sunday, to be sort of the way that our middle table starts to fight itself. Because, we think some of these teams are going to be on upward trajectories. Once they start beating each other, that resolves middle table.
Yep.
And Hawks versus Axis is a big one for me to see which one of these teams kills their demons first.
That's a really good call.
Yeah.
That's a really good call.
That's a fantastic one. I don't believe it's actually probably going to be our match of the week.
I don't think it's going to be the match of the week. We got some deep LJL drama.
There's a quite a big match. It's our equivalent of the Telecom Wars coming up, right? So I think DFM Rascal Jester looks
Expect that content, ladies and gentlemen, of those videos to be coming back next week. I just couldn't get it. We didn't have enough manpower to physically get everything ready at the beginning.
Yeah, it's the way of
but
it.
Next week, we are planning it. We're planning in advance, so we're giving ourselves a bit more room than trying to scurry and get something made this week. We're just going to give ourselves a bit of reprieve and come in strong. Like the top side of the Hawks. A team to end on. Rascal Jester. What happened?
Is this Rascal and his complete lack of bot lane Jester?
No, Rascal would be great actually right now. Can we bring him over? In all fairness, I don't even think you blame Ino. He had a stellar game on that Ornn, remember, when they picked up their win?
Yeah, like, I think Ino's been okay, even today, right? Like, he hit a point where he was truly terrifying. I honestly feel like Secret has not been having the impact he once did as a support, and I don't know whether that's just the meta shift and durability making some of the plays he wants to do, where he often
likes to bring in Shakespeare, fuck it up.
Let's bring her in. Yeah, you know, like, yeah, I would be down for that. I think she could be pretty special at some point in the future. From what I've seen of her plays.
She's an enchanter champion, so is this her meta?
I mean, Secret is historically. Secret's not a bad enchanter player either, but like either way, Sol and Secret have not looked their imperious selves, I think is where I put it. Like both of them have had rough for opening games. I think Sol kind of, the stat line lies a little bit because he picked up 3 kills after an Azir shuffle didn't quite work out and he gets saved by a Divine Judgment and a GA. And he gets to kill everybody at the end of it. It wasn't really his good play. And there was another game again where it was into Lissandra and he just had everyone jumping on him all the time. It was a very hard day to be a Jinx. But the point is, Sol has not been able to be the superstar carry that Rascal Jesters have often looked towards. And the early games on top of that have been pretty sloppy. I have not been impressed with Rascal Jesters early. They have not been very proactive or consistent. And they've been relying very heavily on their late game dragon fights to really win them games. And it hasn't been working. And that is a bit alarming.
Outside of Secret's technical play on the Renata, in their victory over the Hawks, I've been left wanting. It's like they've failed in what Sengoku have succeeded. They've come into this split and not attacked their opponents with what's relevant. Yeah. It's like they're still playing last split, except we've stapled Kayle and Wukong on top, and we're just crossing our fingers. It's not looked great.
Like, you can definitely play Jinx in the current meta. That's really not necessarily the issue.
Yeah,
it's
that's
just like
honey do it.
But you've got to do it a little bit more carefully. You know, you don't just get to be one Jinx anymore so easy. You just go like, right, first pick Jinx, game's won. That's not how it works so much. And there are a lot of very good AD carries right now.
Yeah, there are way better AD carries to be wanting.
Well, you know, like Kallista's up there into particular drafts. There's Zeri's, there's Ezreal's, there's Senna. Oh my god, Senna lanes. You know, like Jinx is amongst that lot, but isn't the kind of one champ fits all anymore.
Yeah. And I mean, for me, and I'm gonna just echo Temporal here a little bit. I would actually argue the only reason they won that first game against the Hawks was because of their top side. They were the only things really getting them there. And since then, their top side has also struggled to pull much of anything together. Think back to that Axis game where Axis were basically beating them in every lane, in the jungle, and it never felt like there was an avenue in for the Jesters. And the fact that Axis were mind controlling them like that, I haven't felt this bad about a Rascal Jesters first week since summer 2020.
I mean,
summer 2020 was when I felt like this about Jesters.
I've had my criticisms of Hachimecha. And don't get me wrong, I've definitely seen his strengths. Like, he's often had very good, like, level 1 to 3 pathing to make things happen. And he's been a really good clutch player in team fights. Not certainly a damage dealer, but often makes the play to get the pick, to defend someone else. Like, there's some really good, like, Xin Zhao plays where he's, like, using the ult with some really cool mechanics to, like, keep people away from his AD carry. But this is not a Hachimecha meta where you're kind of like efficient farming on things like Wukong and Viego to become a real menace at level 6 as a kind of damage dealer and not a tank like an Udyr or a Hecarim kind of meta.
He's
It's
maybe the
good.
worst Wukong we've seen.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think it is.
I'm pretty confident on that.
No, I think you're right. I would give more credit to actually, I don't think we've seen him play a Wukong. We've not seen Unica play a Wukong, have we?
That
No,
would require remembering that
I'll double check.
V3.
Unica has played. He's played Viego and looked very good on that. He's played the Viego and had a really good time on it.
So yeah, I would honestly argue, without even seeing him play it. Actually, no, that's not fair. That's not fair. That's not a fair comparison to make. But I mean, out of the Wukong players we have seen, I think you're right. I think you're right, and that's
like
if we look over their games, they hand over Wukong to the Hawks in their victory. Their first game, they pick up favorable bot lane and they play through from there. Like the Renata ties all of this together. They do not in their following games get a similar setup. On blue, they took the Wukong themselves. No. Top got broken open by Yellow Yoshi being a monster in a really good matchup.
Again,
which shouldn't have been the way. So they lent like too much on the Sejuani. They failed to understand what's going on. They didn't support recap in what should be a favorable Yone Corki matchup. So Megamin got out of hand where he really shouldn't have. That is a Corki L right there, and it just didn't happen. And then in their final games, they somehow acquire Wukong red side because Burning Core have either got the deep strategies or realized that the only way out for Jester is to pick your Renatas, pick your Lissandras, pick your big pieces. They just ban them all. And they just didn't expect any adaptation. They had nothing in live. It was like they had to read the book with pages missing.
And I've not been. I think we've covered why I think Hachimecha probably hasn't having the best time in this meta. Yep. I also think we have long praised Rascal Jesters for being on the forefront of innovation in the LJL, right up there. They look really off it at the minute.
Mm-hmm.
Even Secret pulled out his legendary bard. It's the pick I consider iconic with the guy when he first started out in the LCK, painful. And it just wasn't good.
We watched Secret hand over some team fights.
That went wide were just
so a mixture of bad play from the bot lane, Hachimecha looking aimless on some picks. We've got issues with the early game in general. Like, I'm sure Rascal Jester will turn it around. I'm really hoping they do. They've got too good of a coaching staff, too good of a team to do, like players to do it. But right now they look really off.
I really hope they're poised to flip the script, start picking Volibear first rotation, doing old things.
Hachimecha loves the Volibear. Volibear's good.
He loves a great Volibear. Volibear's great. You just need to fit the rest of the draft now because we're leaving summer meta. Leave summer meta swiftly for the Jesters. Get into a position where we're breaking bot lane again. It'll all be good.
And ultimately, I feel like they are the team that we can definitely check in on the third round robin and be like, oh yeah, no, they're fine. That was just they were just like not trying, or they like hadn't really gelled with the new meta changes. And then after the first round robin, they look like a completely different team. I do genuinely believe they could be a team like that. And there are some decently interesting patches coming out over the next few months, at least from what I've seen on the live server. So
yet to come to live.
Is it yet to come? Okay, so we've got some exciting things coming. By the end of probably when the third round robin will probably be actually played in pro play. Hopefully we'll actually have some cool stuff, which might be more for the Jesters, but we'll have to wait and see. Gentlemen, that brings us over to our first question, unless there's anything else we need to talk about in the main meat and potatoes of recapping this week.
I think also because it was a really good start of where we think teams are at right now. It's partly why we've gone so long. It's because we've finally got actual data to talk about these teams. You know,
got our baseline. That'll do.
You know,
we do. With that said, though,
would you fire lasers at them in your lab, Tom?
No, I was not firing lasers.
No, we're in the calibration.
What I was doing
the baseline data
is going over and asking. If you want to ask us questions, you can join our Discord, ladies and gentlemen, or ask them using the hashtag LJL podcast. I promise we will go look. I just looked to make sure to see, because we had missed that one person who we answered their question last week, but it was for MSI. It's not important. Over in our server, Hina has asked us a question,
Yeah.
gentlemen. She would like
I've
us to
seen it.
know, and I've got it somewhere. I put in the document.
Uh,
What would be
I've got you.
LJL's name if it was a light novel? Context: Japanese light novels often have very long and overly detailed titles.
Right. Gents, I'm going
Right.
to pitch you a novel
Go for it.
series. You can't seriously be telling me that our team has to go and defeat the unkillable Demon King in an international tournament.
That's definitely the chapter we just closed.
That is DFM 2021's chat, like, whole novel.
Yep, there you go.
But the LJL as a whole, though, I don't feel like that's
Yeah, I think if we do LJL whole, it is the dramatic and Shakespearean event following on from 5 people sitting at their computers in the land of the rising sun. Sammy are not included.
Not
I'm gonna pitch.
There's not enough question marks and exclamation marks in it. That's the problem.
I'm gonna pitch. Oh my god, I've just landed a Pro League spot. But where is the team? Who's the region? And I've got to win it all.
You know what? That's a modern LN.
Not bad.
Fuck you. Fuck you. I appreciate that. That's technically credit, but also fuck you. Take your pick, ladies and gentlemen. You can let us know in you can add us on Twitter which one.
If you tweeted us, one of us will brag it over the other two till the end of time.
In all fairness, yeah, actually. So at MaskedSwan was right, at Initialise was right, or at Temporal was right.
I was right because I got the Unkillable Demon King in there, and that's very much a light novel.
That is
subject.
Just Faker. Faker's not in the LJL, mate.
But it is light novels, and the idea is you win the league to go fight the Unkillable.
I feel like mine fits.
You gotta go on the Great Quest. That's like light novel 6.
If mine is to garner a point for anything, it's following that trend of isekai titles that are very literal and very dry.
That's true.
Yeah.
And then you can staple a colon on the end for chapter 2 and you're away.
Yeah, mine is just like brand new.
Or you could just do it around Yaharong. Or you could do it just around Yaharong. What do you mean I've got to replace the Emperor and go kill the Unkillable Demon King in an international competition? I just like follow Yaharong.
He didn't replace the Emperor.
Yeah,
he replaced the Emperor. He replaced the Emperor. Who replaced the Emperor?
Oh, okay.
And
I'm
with that bomb,
I'm third in line of the throne. Have to go kill the Unkillable King in an international competition.
Season 3, episode 14 of the LJL podcast. Yes, of course, you can workshop it, mate. I want to hear it next week.
I'm going to have to put up with this all weekend. I can't deal with this.
With that said, though, Initialise, what are you going to be getting up to over this
I will be joining dear old Temporal at the British Esport Federation Grand Finals live in Nottingham, flying back to the UK in the first time in about 6 months. Very excited. I'll be road tripping with Tom.
You coming up? We'll sort out the travel later.
Exactly.
It's happening.
Anything else to plug, or is that your main big thing?
That's the big one.
That's the big one.
I'm be home from
it is a big one.
It's the closest you're getting to LJL IRL until we rejoin the EU.
Oh. Temporal, what are you getting up to over this next week?
I'm gonna enjoy July the 4th with my American best friend in all of the world. I'm gonna enjoy watching Samcast. Sam, who are you across from?
Who am I across from? Or who am I casting?
Yeah.
I think I'm casting with.
I think it's changed.
It's changed around. I thought it
was poor old Suddy. I think he's in France.
He's in France. It might be Serve or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'll find out.
We'll find out. I'll be across from Milky Zero.
Around. Yeah, I know I'm casting.
Yeah, there will be at least one Initialise.
There will be at least one Initialise plus or minus casters.
With 4th of July celebrations and you're also going to be casting across from Milky Cereal for the British Esports tournament.
Love a bit of Milky. Haven't seen much of him since last year, actually.
No.
Man does a lot of Formula 1 stuff at the moment.
It does. His schedule doesn't really line up with mine, which is a terrible travesty. But here we are. There'll be tons of fun throughout summer. You'll catch me on the LJL OU, where you should be watching.
For me, I'm gonna be doing LJL as always. I've still got the day job, so that takes up time. Other than that,
are we gonna catch you live tweeting LCS again?
probably yeah.
Can't believe you torture yourself with that mind.
Mate, it's honestly a great league to watch. I don't know what everyone's problem
very
is.
entertaining at the minute. There's some wild stuff happening.
It is just
you
drama
make
central.
that retirement home interesting, and you've earned it.
I mean,
you really have.
I mean, it's going to be my retirement home probably.
Speakers dusted off the trash talk. He's like, winning games again. Can finally make some statements. Bjergsen v Jensen happens. All that kind of thing.
Jojo doing well means he feels confident to talk shit on Twitter, which just makes the hot. I'm living.
Elements is resurrected from the coffin and started going with double lift.
I'm sorry.
Again. It's unreal. It's like it's 2012 again.
The whole thing is
get
ridiculous
hot shot back in a minute,
from Elements.
like,
I'm sorry. It's so petty.
It's painful.
But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening and or watching the LJL Officially Unofficial podcast. Like, follow, subscribe.
Go watch last week to confirm what we were talking about. Click that YouTube icon and you'll recommend it.
We were telling nothing but the truth, and we said nothing wrong or objectionable, and you can't disagree with us. Sorry about that.
And Nymera
unless you watch all the games.
He will be. Anyway, bye everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Good night. Sleep on.